welcome to Wild Wisdom Wellbeing Live. I haven't been on here live for quite some time. Sorry, Facebook is just settling. I hope that you can see and hear me. And I wanted to share today about my upcoming workshop entitled Unlocking Healing Wisdom. And basically, it's for anyone who wants to explore more about what's going on in their body, because I help to decode the language of your symptoms. Our symptoms aren't random. The body is not going wrong. It's not making a mistake. It's not attacking itself. It's making adaptations. And once we can look at our symptoms and get behind them to understand what those adaptations are and why the body might be making them, we can start to use that information to support our return to well-being. So if you are somebody who maybe has some symptoms and you're wondering what's going on in my body, a lot of the dis-ease that we actually experience, the medical profession term it as idiopathic. So they might have a label for it. You might have been given a diagnosis of a particular condition, but quite often they don't know why the body would do that. And we have theories, and I'm part of a summit this week, the Busy Woman Wellbeing Summit or Busy Woman Health Summit. You might have seen other posts where I've been sharing about that. And the woman who's hosting it, Dr. Anne Hester, she has a presentation in there which is looking at how we can prevent and treat and recover from dis-ease. And sorry, I've just gone blank. I can't remember why I was talking about that. But she was mentioning about a lot of the conditions that are very prevalent in America. She's based in the US, so that was where she was gathering her statistics. But it's not just in the US. You can see it here in the UK as well, and I'm sure in many other countries across the world as well, where there are conditions such as diabetes, and we blame that often on sugar, or lung cancer, heart disease, and we relate that back to smoking. So we may have theories around why certain dis-eases appear, but the medical profession often doesn't really know, well, why that person and not that person, because somebody might smoke regularly or drink regularly and they don't seem to have any ill effects from that, whereas somebody else who doesn't smoke or drink as much, if at all, does experience things like lung cancer, liver cirrhosis. So why is that? And if you're somebody who wants to explore that, maybe you have a diagnosis for yourself, maybe somebody in your family has a diagnosis, and you're wondering why? Why is this happening for me, for my family member, my friend? Why is the body doing this? Why are we experiencing these symptoms? Is there anything that we can do to support greater well-being and possibly even to get back, to heal and to get back more energy, more vitality, more fun in our lives, all those things we want in order to really enjoy our lives. And for me, that's why we're here. That is the point and the purpose of our life, to be here, to experience, to learn, to grow, to know ourselves more fully, and to be the best version of ourselves that we can possibly be. I've also just been listening to some training where I'm updating my meta-consciousness training, which is what this is all about, because this workshop is an introduction to meta-consciousness. And in that, it's exploring the fact that we have, or we see, we have a sense of somebody's personality, including our own. And as Dr. Gabor Mate says in his book, When the Body Says No, these aren't necessarily traits that we're born with. They are often adaptations because of something that has happened, some trauma, be that big T trauma, so something that is big and life-changing in a split second, perhaps like 9/11 or the 7/7 bombings in London or the wars that we're currently seeing on the news. something like that can be a big T trauma. But there are also the little T traumas, the things that just happen. Maybe they appear small on the surface, but they have a huge impact on us. And if they happen regularly in our lives, those small, big elements of neglect or abuse or not being listened to, not being heard, not feeling seen, not feeling worthy, these wounds and traumas that we carry within us, that can lead us to making an adaptation. And there are very specific and scientific reasons why certain adaptations are made and why certain people develop certain personality traits. And Dr. Gabor Mate was saying in his book that we talk about a cancer personality. He didn't see it as being something we're born with, but as something we develop as an adaptation. And we often hear those stories about, oh, this poor person who developed cancer and they still were so lovely and they did so much for other people. They ran marathons to raise money for cancer charities. But Dr. Gabor Mate was being a little bit devil's advocate and saying, well, why are those people focusing so much of their energy and attention onto other people when they've been given a life-changing diagnosis, a life-limiting diagnosis like cancer, rather than taking time out, putting their efforts, their attention, their focus, their energy onto self-care and seeing how they can improve their well-being and possibly heal. And perhaps largely in our society that may be due to the fact that we think cancer isn't healable. But we have cancers going on in our body, coming and going all of the time. It's just another adaptation. And as we process what we needed to process, then our body can let that go again. It's when we carry things that the body is continuing to make that adaptation. You've probably heard me say it before, but I liken that to when we have a puncture. Our cars often have a space saver spare wheel, so we can replace the damaged one for the space saver one, which is designed to get us from the site of the puncture to the nearest repair centre, so that we can then put on a full regular proper tyre, make sure that the car is balanced, and on we go. But if we didn't swap that space saver tyre for a proper normal full tyre, then the car would be out of balance and we'd probably start to hear knocking and there'd be little niggles with the car and it wouldn't be working quite as well. And over time, that could lead to more serious problems. And that's kind of what's going on in our bodies. When we have these moments of big or little T trauma, we make an adaptation. We create a belief. And as Abraham Hicks says, a belief is just a thought you keep thinking. So if in that moment of trauma you suddenly have a thought that's something like, I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, I need to hide, I need to be small, or conversely, I need to puff up and I need to be big so that I am more threatening than the threat that I feel is coming towards me, so that it will back off and I will then be safe. So all of these things are to support our sense of safety and survival. There's always a purpose. They are not random. And our experience, our past experience, will determine how we receive, interpret, respond to, react to the threats that we perceive. And if we've had a lot of challenges in our earlier life, we may be pre-programmed to see things as threats that perhaps aren't actually literally a threat to us, or other people might not see as threatening, but we might if we have become hypervigilant, if we have learnt or have come to see the world as a threatening space. And something I've shared before, it talks about VUCA world, VUCA. So it feels volatile, it feels uncertain, it feels chaotic and changing, it feels ambiguous, and we don't really know where are the goalposts. What are the rules here? I don't know. They seem to keep changing. My world just shifts. It's like the rug gets pulled out from under my feet and I don't know where I am, or I'm standing on quicksand and I'm always worried where I put my foot next because the ground might seem to disappear from beneath me. And it can put us into one of the signs of stress. So we might freeze, we might want to run away, we might want to do the ostrich thing of sticking our head into the sand and not wanting to look at that thing that we're finding threatening and challenging and too big and overwhelming. So when those things happen and when we make those decisions that are made in moments where we feel completely thrown off balance, so they're that spare tire, they're only designed to get us through that moment of feeling in threat, because our fight flight is system is only designed to be in play for about 10 to 15 minutes, but so many of us are in chronic fight or flight, and therefore we're not taking that moment of pause to process what's happened. And the aim of that stuff we're carrying around and that pain and that hurt and the thing that we find so challenging and often upsetting is learning. But when we're not able to process it, we don't feel we have the space, the time, the safety to just sit with it, unpack it, be curious but compassionate with ourselves as we explore it and delve into it and lean and dive into all that it has to teach us. If instead we're going, I'll deal with that later, it feels too painful right now, it's too overwhelming, I've got too much else going on, I don't have the capacity, I don't have the resilience, I don't have the resources. We may feel that, but generally speaking we do. It's just maybe that in that moment we haven't got access to them. So when we feel that way, then we're not addressing, we're not able to. It's not that we are just procrastinating. We probably, from the outside and from the inside, maybe feel that we are, but there's a reason. We're not doing it because we're lazy. We're not doing it because we can't be bothered. We're doing it because we don't feel we can. We don't feel safe. We don't feel we have the time, the space, the resources, whatever it might be, the support. So if you're feeling that any of this is resonating with you, if you're feeling that your body has made adaptations in the ways that I'm describing, and that has led to your vehicle, your body, getting some little knocks, getting some niggles, feeling out of balance, or perhaps even going further and developing very noticeable and uncomfortable symptoms, then the workshop that I'm talking about is for you. Also, if you're a practitioner and this is resonating for you in terms of the people you work with, this workshop gives you added tools, added depth to the wonderful things that you already do, the wonderful help support that you already offer. This can add another layer. It can just deepen what you offer people and give it that extra edge and that extra efficiency and oomph. So what does the workshop offer? It helps you to decode the language of your symptoms. Why is the body doing the things that it's doing? Why are these particular symptoms appearing? Because, as I say, they're not random. They're attempting to serve a purpose. Sometimes, just also to say that the adaptations we make are made for a reason. They are very specific to us and to the experiences that we've been through. So as I say, they're not random. And when we look at them, when we understand why the body might do that, why might this part of my body, this organ, this tissue, we can take it down to that level, why this tissue might be doing this particular thing. Why is it increasing? Why is it decreasing? Why is it weakening? Why is it going into overdrive? We can look at all of these aspects and understand why the body is doing that, what the emotion is behind that, what the need is underlying that, and how we can then put things into place that means that need is being addressed. we can learn how to take better care of our well-being, how to put those resources in place in the way that we need it. Because all of this is so subjective. Our perception of trauma, our experience, our filters, our thoughts, our beliefs, it's all so subjective and plays such a big part in our development of any symptoms and in how we respond, how we react to that. So this workshop helps to decode all of that. It gives you the tools to understand what's going on in your body, why now, how can you best support yourself, how can you create a map to getting back to well-being in a very precise and effective and efficient way, so that you can take those steps, and making sure that they feel doable, not overwhelming, and that they're fun. This is a process that often from the outside or from our past experiences we think it's too big, it's too scary, it's too painful, it's overwhelming. Like I was saying before, maybe feel I don't have the resources, I don't have the time, I don't have the capacity, the resilience, the space, the safety. So how can we start to bring all of those in? And this workshop looks at that too, in ways that are appropriate for the specific symptoms that you, your friend, your family, or somebody you're working with may be experiencing. So if all of that sounds like it's for you, then I'm going to give you some more details about what to expect. The workshop takes place from Friday the 19th of April through to Sunday the 21st of April. It's a 3-day workshop, and it's here at Equenergy Wild Wellbeing in Southeast Wales, surrounded by beautiful nature, countryside. Here, where I am, you actually can't see it in any of our neighbours. We're in this magical space, which is part of the healing experience in itself. You turn off the main road, 1.5 miles down a little lane, and you start to drive up the lane, and it's beautiful beech trees, and it really does. I've had people say that it's like coming into Narnia, not with the winter, but into that magical space that just feels like you're leaving everything else behind. You're leaving the expectations, your routines, the things maybe that are keeping you stuck. You're leaving all of that behind and able just to come here where you have space, you have freedom, you have time to explore, to go within, to look at what's happening in your body and how you can start to put a map in place to work back towards greater well-being, greater joy, energy, vitality, all of those things that we want in our lives, we want to experience, that allow us to feel good. So Friday the 19th to Sunday the 21st of April from 10 until 4 each day. And that is to allow time for those who want to travel in, maybe from some distance, and also to, particularly now that we have the longer evenings, to maybe take advantage of the nature and the environment that we have here. There are lots of beautiful walks. We're on the Blorange. There's a beautiful lookout spot up at the top where you can see for miles, and it just gives you that sense of space and perspective. So there's so much to be gained from not only doing the workshop, but to taking advantage of the space in which we are based. I don't provide lunch or accommodation, but there are lots of wonderful places in the area which you can find both of these. So if you're coming, you need to bring a packed lunch with you each day. And as I say, there are loads of shops and stuff down in Abergavenny town where you can find those, and plenty of places to stay if you want to do that and make a whole weekend of it. But if not, there's plenty of time. We don't start until 10, we finish at 4, plenty of time for travel if that's what you feel is best for you. Was there anything else that I'm just checking my notes here? Refreshments will be provided, so drinks, etc. will be provided, drinks and snacks. And also another particular area that this workshop is very supportive with is the autoimmune conditions, those ones that are often idiopathic. Doctors don't really know why the body develops these conditions. And we are given the message that maybe the body's attacking itself. If you think of something like diabetes or rheumatism, arthritis, this is the message that we receive. However, meta consciousness looks at it from a very different perspective. It's a much more, I guess, compassionate, self-compassionate perspective, because the underlying message sometimes when our body is attacking itself is something's gone wrong. Am I responsible for that? What am I not doing right? And we start, certainly I did, because I was given a diagnosis of several autoimmune conditions, or being borderline for autoimmune conditions. And I then developed this push-pull friction relationship with my body, which was probably a part of the whole process for me, because I didn't have a very good relationship with my body already. And then to be told, well, you have fibromyalgia, you're borderline for diabetes, borderline for arthritis, then that didn't help. I just felt that my body was letting me down, it was going wrong, was it my fault? And meta consciousness takes the idea of fault and blame away and replaces it with compassion, and more at looking, well, why would your body do that? Why would your body develop this inflammation? Not attack itself, but just develop this inflammation. What is it trying to do? What is it trying to achieve? How is that part of a survival mechanism? Because initially, that's the aim. The body just wants to survive. It wants to support us. It wants to keep us safe. So initially, the strategy was always aimed at doing something supportive and positive to help us get through a situation that we found overwhelming or challenging. Where did we not then change out that spare tire? Where did we get stuck? Why did we get stuck? What was going on that held us and left us feeling that we didn't have the space, the time, the safety, the resources to unpack that learning? As A.H. Almaas says, our pain is our pain. It's the part of us that loves us the most, loves us so deeply. It doesn't want us to not thrive. It wants us to have the best out of life. But in order to do that, the only way it can talk to us, the only way it can share that there's an area that needs our attention, that isn't currently supporting us and uplifting us and enabling us to be the best that we can be, is by symptoms, is by things like pain. So when you can take the time to look at, explore, dive into, lean into, feel what's going on, dialogue with your body rather than, as I was doing, against it, then we can learn, then we can take action, then we can make the changes that will support us in healing, in regeneration, in getting us back to that health, energy, vitality, joy, love of life that is what I believe we're here for. So if that sounds like it's for you, then please just get in touch. If you've got any questions at all, just put something in the comments below or DM me, and I'm very happy to answer any questions and to share anything further that you would like to know about this workshop. Also, just to say, there are only 3 spaces left, so first come, first serve. Do pop me a message if you would like to know anything further. If you're ready to dive in and to book a place, I'll also stick the link for that below here too. So that's it from me for now. I hope you have a lovely week, and as you can see, the sun is shining here. I hope you get some sunshine again for yourselves where you are this week. My husband was just listening to the radio, and he said that they had reported there was 50% more rain in the month of March here in the UK. 50%. So it's not a wonder we're all feeling like the winter is never going to end. We've got gloomy weather, and the fields here certainly are saturated. The rivers are all high. So if you've been feeling a little bit like that, again, time for a bit of compassion, a bit of understanding, a bit of, yeah, there's a reason you feel that way. It really has been that wet over the last few weeks, but hopefully things will be changing at some point in the near future, and we can start to really get into spring and enjoying the longer days and some warmer, drier weather. So yeah, take good care of yourselves, and see you again. Bye for now.